The Trayvon Martin case enters its third month of deceit, deception and distortion, thanks in part to the tireless work of people like Mr. Sean Hannity, who likes to drop leading question after leading question in order to make his point.
But I would argue there's been a rush to judgment. And by that, the president has weighed into this. You said about the president, you didn't see so much hate, you didn't expect or foresaw so much hate coming from the president or members of Congress. What did you mean by that, sir?
On Wednesday, he let stand a number of baseless, or at least wholly unproven assertions, even after his guests, George Zimmerman's father and two lawyers, would complain of the media's bias and distortion of the facts. Here's a sample.
On the morning of February 26th, we had a peaceful town where people went to church and sat together in multiracial congregations. They stood in line at the grocery store, and we didn't have a seething town of civil unrest because of race relations. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton brought that to town. They turned this into a racial event when it never, ever was one.
Mr. Uhrig, it's funny you should mention my colleague, host of MSNBC's Politics Nation, the Reverend Al Sharpton, because this is what Rich Lowry, editor of the National Review and no slouch of a conservative, wrote about him and your client last month. Al Sharpton is right. George Zimmerman should be charged. For more, we go to Joyanne Reid, who's in Sanford, Florida, reporting on the story for thegrio.com, where she's also the managing editor. And Joyanne, I understand you've literally just run from a plane, so thank you for joining us. I want to talk about this supposed eyewitness that Zimmerman's lawyer, Hal Uhrig, kept talking about last night on Fox and on CNN. He claims this witness saw Trayvon on top of George beating him, supposedly blowing a hole in what we all know is true. Now, please, could you separate the fact from the fiction for us?
Sure, Martin. Well, this is a witness. This isn't actually anything new. The Zimmerman camp has been saying that there is a witness that would corroborate his story, really pretty much from the beginning. I know NBC News would love to talk to this guy. We have not actually interviewed him as yet. But this is a guy who supposedly says that he saw Trayvon Martin on the top of this scrum that took place before the shooting. Now, of course, there are other witnesses. There was one who appeared on another network who said that they saw the bigger man, the Hispanic man, on top and get up quickly. So these are contradictory witnesses that can really only be sorted out by the state attorney.
Right, so it's not quite as clear-cut as they would have us believe. They all talk about how awful the court of public opinion is. And then they allow George Zimmerman's father to take the stand and testify with what is essentially hearsay. I mean, you can call it testimony, I guess, but about Trayvon's pounding Zimmerman's head into the sidewalk, which, you know, contracts a witness who says this happened on the grass.
Well, I mean, what you've really seen from George Zimmerman's side is an attempt to get his story out there. There have been various permutations of it. It's shifted slightly. The initial story that was reportedly told by the police detective to Trayvon's father was that Trayvon actually confronted him at his car, and then he lost him, and then he caught up with him, and they had this confrontation. And then you just had these various sort of escalating versions of the story that even include sound bites, things supposedly Trayvon Martin said. And I guess while it is, as you said, it's hearsay that sort of muddled the message here, what it has done is it's put Zimmerman's narrative out without him having to come forward. And I think if you're his defense, isn't that what you want to do? You want to get his side of the story out and try to modify his image.
They're doing it brilliantly. The one thing conservatives do seem to enjoy about this story is that it lets them talk about how it's the president, they say, who's taken political advantage. Even as they beat the war drum over their favourite target, the new Black Panthers, all 5 or 6 of them, I guess.
Yeah, there are about 6 new Black Panthers. They are completely irrelevant. They're not even from Florida. I think they came from Georgia, and their huge protest was all of half a dozen people. But no, what's really interesting, Martin, is there was a Pew Research study that actually has shown that this case has actually begun to break down along partisan lines. Since the president has come out and then got attacked for speaking by Newt Gingrich first, and then by the right, you've had Republicans literally say that there's been too much coverage of the Trayvon Martin case, and Democrats say the opposite, where yeah, that it's actually become a partisan issue.
Joyanne Reid, thank you very much. And I should remind our viewers, the only thing the president actually said was offering his condolences to the family. Thank you, Joyanne.